happen, but performance is still better than what it was. I keep talking about TPOs. Quick explanation, it was just a polymer that has a double carbon chain. It's an old chemical term and really no longer applies except as a marketing term. In this we talked about TPO and FPO. It's just the FPO is a more flexible version of a TPO. Can't do much else with them, but the thing that does make them attractive as a membrane is we can go over contaminated surfaces. With these TPOs, they've got more volume in the structure, so they can accept a little bit of oily contamination. How they're made? Very simply, we get pelletized, granular product, feed it into hoppers, and then run it through heating systems, rollers, putting the reinforcement in, and away we go. Am I going too fast or? Good, yeah. As an introduction, this will work. Membrane reinforcement. Most of the reinforcement is a polyester mesh, some are fiberglass. Fiberglass is used for dimensional stability. Many of you would recognise that this has come from the old torch-on bitumen membrane technology. You use the fiberglass because your bitumen is going to migrate over time, so this helps keep it as a stable thing. Polyester, better system for flexibility and high resistance to tearing. Fiberglass, a lot of the fiberglass was just chopped strand, and you could tear it relatively easily. So just a quick look at initial tear strength and poor tear propagation from a standard square woven scrim. By putting in this weft inserted scrim, we get a lot more resistance to tear. We also can get larger sheets and better resistance to puncture. So, a good way of doing it. So we come back to single ply membranes. So what are they? They're lightweight, and I've just given a comparison there. 1.5 mil TPO, 1.53 kilos versus 2-layer bitumen, 8 kilos a square metre. In a lot of instances, that's not a lot of weight to put on a roof. But if you're re-roofing and you may have a topping and some other membrane that's failed, it becomes important. The other thing is we all know that there are self-adhesive single-layer bitumen. I've not included it in this presentation because they don't have the properties of the solar reflectivity or the resistance to UV. You need to put something on them to give you those things. Also, the bituminous sheets are smaller, generally 10 metres by 1 metres, or roughly that size. With some of the single-ply sheet membranes, 30 metres long, 2 metres wide. We've got some now that are 3 metres wide. The old EPDM from Superspan used to be 6 metres wide. So, you know, these are just an idea of less joins, bigger areas to cover quickly. Our issue is that not having applicators that have been trained in it, you'll still get people fighting to lay the bigger sheets properly. Can be done with a little bit of training, and that's what we try to do. The other thing is a lot of the insulation doesn't react well with bitumen, so we've got insulation that can go with a variety of these. We also have multiple methods of installation. We can adhesive fix, mechanically fix, or loose layered with ballast. We're just doing Royal Brisbane Women's Hospital, a roof there where they're going to build another building on it. They've got insulation on the roof. We've removed the ballast, gone over that with a sheet membrane, and the ballast is going back around the new building, but they were doing belts and braces because even though the original membrane hadn't leaked, there were starting to be issues because of building another building on that membrane. So to preserve their insulation and ensure watertightness, we've gone over it. Metal roofing, different story. You can't really get a flat roof. It's water shedding, so you've got to have some fall, you've got to have mechanisms to get the water away. Can leak where we've got high wind. Prime example is up there at Chermside. There's a shopping centre, and around the perimeters, water is blowing up under the capping and into the bakery underneath. And it's just an obvious problem, easy to fix, but it's a common problem. Single ply membranes, main performance feature is they're water containing membranes. So you can seal off a whole roof, do odd shapes, and you can do big flat areas. They'll also accept maintenance traffic in the main. If you have high density foot traffic on it, there are other systems to provide a protected path. For example, you can get tread pattern sections that you weld onto the top of the membrane to define the walking area. I put this in because one of the big issues we've got is people don't know how to deal with putting air cons and solar panels and so on. Very easy to do. You've got your membrane down, whack a hole, epoxy fix a support rod or similar, and then you can put a pipe flashing around it, preformed pipe flashing. Another system would be to loose layer a section of membrane and put a plinth on it, or put some kind of bearer to carry whatever equipment. That can be done. The newer ones, some of these fittings are preformed and you can weld them onto the membrane. Important point, most of these membranes are not compatible with tile adhesives, so you need self-supporting toppings. You put the membrane down, put a slip sheet, your topping then's got to be at least 40mm, wire reinforced, tile on the topping. So I've mentioned water stops. The weldable sheet rubber, which is the new technology, I think you've seen it in that WeldTech brochure. We can do all of these things. This is just an example at Garden Island. The membrane's been put around the structure, and the bottom picture is just water testing with the fluoro dye. It's just a different way of achieving a watertight basement. Previously, we would have used a bitumen layer or double layer, brought it up the size, but it's harder to do that without damage. This works quite well because you've got your membrane in, concrete cover, it's bonded to the concrete, so if the ground subsides underneath or whatever, your membrane is still doing the function without filling with water and splitting. External balconies. This is where we started with the weldable rubber. You may or may not know we own a factory in New Zealand that makes butyl rubber, and one of the developments that's come out of it is putting a fleece. So this is a butyl base with a polyester fleece on it. Here we've put flood testing, lay the tiles, grout it up. This is particularly important where you have sheeted balconies or concrete balconies that have got cracks in them. We're finding that the cost of doing remedial repair is so much more than doing this kind of thing on those areas to start with. So a lot of work's gone into it. In these, we take the membrane out as well, so you don't end up with an upturned edge to trap water. It's just another solution where you know you've got a welded joint, so it's watertight, and there is a technique for testing them. You've got uniform thickness, not relying on an applicator. It's relatively quick. The membrane itself is adhesive fixed to a clean substrate, and we can go over joints and sheeted decks and put a bond breaker tape down, go over the joint. On sheeted decks, you should reflect in your tiling that joint, so the membrane's not constrained from stretching if there's movement, but just a different way of getting the job done. I thought I'd toss this one in because this is a really unusual job. It's a TPO membrane over insulation